Hey guys, it's Dani. Today we are going to be doing my shadow deep dive spread. That's kind of what I'm calling it because I really don't have a name for it. It's a shadow spread. I had mentioned it in one or two of my other videos, and I've had quite a big response of people asking me to go over it and show you guys what I was doing, because this spread I really worked on and sat with for a really long time. I created the spread in December and I really took it piece by piece, and I kind of reworded or rearranged things as I went and just took a really big deep dive. Now this can be done in one sitting. Matter of fact, one of my friends, I had them like, please do this. Let me know what you think. And they really liked it. They did it all in one sitting. They did like a piece and then clear the table and a piece again, but it was done all in one sitting and it had just as much of a powerful effect. So I hope you guys enjoy. We will do a top video so I can show you guys what's going on, and I will link, I was gonna say I'll link it below, but I might just write the prompts below for it. Maybe find it on Instagram as well. If I do, I'll put a link to the Instagram post below as well. So let's get started. So as you can see, we're starting off with 3 different decks. Now I'm doing this because this is how I did the spread. I used my Archetypes deck. Granted, I used a different one, but I'm going to use the Moonchild today and then the Modern Witch. So basically I have my Oracle and 2 different tarots in the way that I'm splitting it up. Now I would recommend either an Archetype type deck, maybe a Majors Only draw for these, or something that has some really good signifying cards, just because our first 2 cards kind of branch down. So my first 2 cards are going to be the current state or your current energy, and then the shadow, right? So I've already shuffled these, that way I don't have to do that. I'll just pick some cards for us and we'll lay those down. So let's do the first 2. We have the Mask, right, and ooh, the Self. Okay, so these are going to be our main cards. So we have the Mask, our current state. This could be exactly what it looks like. We are wearing this mask. We're pretending to be something that we're not. We're hiding things. We're putting on a face for certain people, or maybe for everybody, and kind of masking what's inside. And it feels like there's something ready to burst, right? This little starburst. Anyway, I'm not going to go too deep in the cards. I'm just kind of going to give you a kind of an idea of what I would do with this. Now, I would probably sit with this card and really kind of map it out. I might read what the book says. If something sparks me there, I might journal about that, or kind of expand on that. And then I'll go into the shadow, which is the Self. And I feel like with these 2, it would be like you are always putting on this happy face or putting on different masks for different parts of your life and never really showing your true self, because the true self is your shadow. It's what you're scared of. It's like all those insecurities that make you up in all these fragmented pieces. So that would be our main 2 cards, right? So then I'll go into the first one. Please excuse, this is an old an old sheet I need to replace, and yeah, art things got there. Anyway, we're not worried about that today, Dani. Okay, so the next set of cards that I'm going to put down have to do with the Mask. So we're going to talk about what part of me does this energy represent? What action is this energy calling for? How can I best explore this energy? What energy does this, what lesson does this energy hold? And then how does this energy relate to my shadow? Okay, so we're going to put out our 5 cards. So we'll put out these cards. So we're just going to kind of do a little kind of mock reading when it comes to this in each place, right? So we'll start with the Seven of Cups. So this is supposed to be, what part of me does this energy represent? And right away, I feel like it represents all these choices that we're making in terms of this mask, right? Every time we're faced with a situation, it's like we want to hide behind one of these things, right? It's that daydream of like, who am I going to be, right? Because when I think of the Seven of Cups, I often think of daydreaming, and it's like, oh, well, who can I be next? Instead of embracing who we are. So I feel like that's the part of you that this energy would represent, is all these daydreaming choices of all these masks instead of living that true self. And then on to the Seven of Wands, which is, what action is this energy calling for? And I feel like this energy is calling for the strength to stand up for yourself and be okay when the mask is down. Kind of setting yourself up to put yourself out there. That's what it's calling for. Be strong and be confident in who you are and what your abilities are and how you feel. And don't be afraid to really express that. And I feel like this girl way in the background is like really trying to, yell from the mountaintop, if you will. Just like showing that will and determination. There's like a light here. I don't know. I just really love that scene for that. So moving on. The Page of Swords is for, how can I best explore this energy? First thing I think of is like through logic, right? She's got her head to her temple, right? Got this sword in her hand, and it's like the logic there is just like, break it down. Why are you putting these masks on, right? Explore those reasons why. Trace them back. Be very logical versus emotional about it, right? You may want to follow those emotions, but again, in a way that you're kind of doing research. Why do I feel the need to do that? Is it because of the person? Is it because of the way I feel when I'm around this person? Am I intimidated? Do I feel empowered? Do I feel this, that, or the other? So kind of really exploring this energy is going to take a lot of brain power and a lot of research to kind of really break down where it's coming from. And then on to the Devil. Now this is, what lesson, I still want to say, what does this, anyway, sorry. What lesson does this energy hold? And I feel like the Devil is here to say, like, there are habits that are going on that need to be gone through, right? There is temptation to constantly put this mask back on. There's going to be those moments in everyday life where we just want to mask who we are, where we don't want to show somebody, we don't want to let somebody in because we've been hurt. There are a lot of bad habits that will be revealed by going through this, right? And I feel like that's what this Devil is kind of pulling forth for us. And then on to the fifth one, which is, how does this energy relate to my shadow? I feel like this Ace of Swords is here to bring clarity. How does it relate? It's to the self, is that this is going to bring you clarity, right? This mask is what you need to kind of hone in on, right? Once you know and follow that trail of this mask, you get to why you're so scared or so blocked from showing and allowing your true self to come through, right? So that would be the first set, kind of diving into that mask that is the current state, right? So then our next set of cards are going to relate to our shadow. So let's go ahead and pull these. I'm going to kind of put them on top to make sure that you can see. So we have 5 of these. We have it again. Okay. Oh, I hope you can see this. That light is kind of messing with this. I'm gonna have to push them up. Okay, so we're just gonna kind of go over it so you make sure that you guys can see these cards. So I love how the Ace of Swords came right back. Like, this is clarity. And it's true, because the very first one for the shadow is, what impact does this shadow have on my life? You're not seeing clearly, obviously, because you have this skewed vision of the self. And I love how these cards kind of mirror each other, again, with all the fractions. Seeing all those like little fractionated pieces. Anyway, so yeah, it has a lot to do with the clarity of who you are. You're kind of losing yourself in the masks. If you play a role your whole life, how much of that character do you take on? And how much of yourself is lost because you're too busy anticipating what this character is going to say. So I feel like that has a lot to do with the impact of this shadow on your life, is trying to hide the self and kind of making the self kind of be pushed into the background, right? So the second is, what area of this shadow am I failing to see? You are failing to see the power that this hidden part of yourself holds, right? Your persona that you're putting out is meeker and weaker than who you really are. So I feel like you're failing to see, or we're failing to see, how powerful you can be, right? So on to the next, because I swear I can go really deep into this whole thing. I'm like, oh, but this, and what about this, what about this? And I'm like, keep it moving, Dani. I don't want to bog down on this like faux reading, like it's a real reading, but it's really hard not to. Okay, so our next one is, how can I work with this shadow? And I know the Five of Pentacles usually talks a lot about being down and out and kind of lost, but it's like, I feel like working with the shadow is most important when you feel that way. So how can I work with this shadow? When you're feeling the worst, when you're feeling like you don't know what to do, like you're hiding, like you can't find a way out, that's when you need to tap in and find this Emperor vibe, right? That's how you work with the shadow. The second you feel like you want to run and hide, it's the times where you need to call on this and really work on this shadow of kind of blocking yourself and like letting yourself come through. 4 is, what areas of this shadow do I need to release? Right here we have the Fool, right? And immediately I'm thinking of these rash decisions. Like just rash decisions being made to hide. It's easier to put on the mask than it is to say something that maybe someone doesn't like, or someone might not agree with, or showing your true beliefs, or your true whatever that may be, XYZ. It's these rash decisions to just hide instead of expressing yourself that I feel like you need to release. This Fool is coming out and it's just like, here I am. And that's kind of more of where you need to take it. And then for the last one, what can I gain from this shadow's lessons? I feel like with this 10 of Swords, it's like, what can you gain from this? You can gain the simple fact that regardless of how many times you get hurt, you still move on, right? This was a famous picture of the everything is fine. And it's like, I feel like in this case, it's talking about the empowering potential of that, where it's like, even though there are all these swords, you can still choose to move on, and you can take one sword at a time out and just continue to be your true self until you heal, right? So that is the whole spread. Can you hear my little one? She's about to get ready for bath. So that is kind of a small little rundown of this shadow deep dive. It was really hard just to kind of like leave it and try to say one or two things without going into a complete tangent, which I did once or twice, and I had to rein myself back in and cut it out. go again. I'm like, this could be a really long video of me trying to deep dive again into this spread. So I hope you guys liked it. Like I said, I really used it to kind of sit with. You know, I sat with my current state and I sat with my shadow, and then I pulled my first set of cards and I really went through each and every one. I took 1 or 2 a day. Sometimes I went back and I reread and I made more notes as to where my current state was and what I could learn from that. And then I moved on to my shadow and did the same thing. So I hope that you enjoyed this spread. If you do it, please let me know. I would love to know what you thought. You can tag me on Instagram or leave me a message below in the comments. I'd love to hear that. And so I hope that this helps you guys. I hope that you enjoy this deep dive spread and that it's useful to you. Like I said, let me know what you think, and I will see you guys very soon. Sending you all my love. Later, Gators.